Hello, welcome to Marriage Minutes. And today, the Whitehouse is going to be discussing a pretty serious topic at its pace, and that is revolving around for better or for worse, dealing with someone, your spouse, who is ill. I think when most of us, when we got married, we did not think about the fact that we might have things that interrupt our ability to live happily ever after and help us to live free of illness and sickness and disease. But the fact of the matter is, especially in the environment that we are living in right now during this taping, that it is very possible that I might become ill or my husband might become ill, and one of us will have to assume the primary role of caring for the other. This might happen earlier than you think. I mean, we think about maybe growing old when we get in our 70s or 80s. Yes, probably one of us will have to help the other one go to the bathroom or fix the meals for one another or things of that nature. But what happens when that happens really early in your relationship? What do you do? How do you deal with it? Do you just hightail it and run because that's not what you signed up for? Or do you think truly and seriously about the commitment that you made and the vows that you set early on that said that I was in this for better or for worse? It's tough, but we know couples right now who are thriving in the midst of a person, one of the spouses being ill. It's tough, but it can happen, and you can be successful at it.
And I think one of the things, if nothing else, if this doesn't do anything, if you're not in that situation, is that you start having those type of conversations. Uh, what happens? What's our plan of action for when that scenario will hit us? Because if nothing else, we all are aging day by day, and so whatever that scenario may be and however it plays out, we don't know, but uh, you can try to be as well prepared as you can. Even when I think about my parents, I mean, they were ride or die, and until my father died. But my mom was pretty much the mouthpiece, and my dad was the the body of the relationship. But it actually flipped to where my mom became uh, the body of the relationship, and she did all the action that the relationship needed in those last stages before my dad died. My dad was the mouthpiece, and so you know, what's the game plan? And so I think you really need to sit down and have those type of discussions. And it's not doom or gloom, but it's just life, and life happens. And so why sweep something like that under the rug, thinking that it's not going to happen? It's going to happen. It just matters if you are prepared as a family to address it and to meet it head on.
Yeah, I think what Mark said is very valuable. And I also think that you have to be willing as a couple to migrate through the grieving process together. I think that's where couples get tripped up, is because one person is grieving over what they've lost and they become angry. They maybe rest in denial or whatever the case may be. And I think you have to be able to go through that individually, but I think you have to give your marriage room to go through it together as well. You have to come to a place of acceptance together and say, okay, this is what it is, and this is how we're going to attack it. I don't think that it's fair for me to resent Mark because he can't do some of the things that maybe he used to be able to do before the illness hit. Nor can he be upset with me because he can't do that. And I think you have to give each other grace during this time. But I think that you have to decide together that if we're going to stay married through this, here's how it's going to operate, and give yourself an opportunity to fail and to come back to the table and to do it all over again until you get it right, until you get into a groove that works for the both of y'all. It's hard work. It's hard work, but I would not want anybody else by my side going through an illness but him, because he knows all about me. He knows my ins and my outs. He knows my ups and my downs. And so my prayer is that we would learn how to be a sounding board and a soft landing for each other, regardless of the illness.
And I think it's important too for whatever spouse is doing the heavy lifting, so to speak, that you really find yourself in a place to where you can really have some accountability and have an opportunity to unload and to share your feelings. If you can't have that kind of conversation with your spouse, but that you seek out an accountability partner that you can really communicate with and just kind of get that. I mean, first and foremost with God, but secondly, just having somebody that you can talk to when it's tough, because I'm sure it's tough.
Right. But guard your heart, because I could easily see that falling into a bad situation if you're leaning on somebody, mourning your marriage as it was, or mourning the fact that your spouse is ill now, and you start leaning on that person a little bit more, leaning on that person before a little bit more, and you might find yourself in a compromising position. So you have to be mindful of that, prayerfully that it's somebody that's like-minded, somebody that's maybe same gender, same preference, so that you are not falling into the traps that the enemy is setting up for you. Because I am positive that the enemy would love more than to separate you in this time than to bring you together. But you can do it. You can do it, but you have to set a plan. And listen, I think it's so important. That's why I think it's so important to plan beforehand. Just like Mark said, talk about it. What are you doing right now in the season of peace so that you can prepare for the season of war? You have to get your artillery ready now. You have to get those things in place now. You have to get your finances in place now. You have to get what's going to happen with your children in place now, so that when those things happen that are sudden, they don't have to be so surprising and so hurtful, because you've got a plan in place. Don't let illness come upon you and you don't have disability insurance, or you don't have a savings account, or emergency fund. Don't wait. Take care of yourself now, because like we are learning right now in this pandemic, life is not certain. Tomorrow is not certain. So you need to do the things that you can do best now to prepare for better or for worse. You were going to say something, babe.
No, just have your stockpile ready.
Have your stockpile ready. Yeah.
Whatever that looks for you.
Yeah. And listen, this could be a minor illness, something that somebody could quickly recover from. And maybe you only have to assume their roles in the house for 2 or 3 weeks. But there are also people who are in long-term illnesses that end up having to have people come in to help them, or people, to assist them to change to change their clothes, to get dressed, those kinds. It could get that deep. Are you going to be there in the long haul? Is that what you signed up for? God is able, but you have to be willing to partner with him in that situation, for better or for worse.
Not better. For better or for worse. Be well, be blessed.